is to go outward. She'd have smashed you in the friggin' skull. So you're lucky you got the pair of sneakers I bought you from John's Bargain Store for $2. Those are going to last you until the soles, literally your heels are burning. So you better wear those suckers well. Don't fuck with them. I'm telling you, that's the way it was. You know? Now I'm looking in the chat room. Cam says that's why you don't go to the doctor. Well, let's face it, Cam. If you don't ever have to go to the doctor, and a lot of people in this lifetime, they won't go to the doctor until they're tragically sick or they just drop dead. If you can get away with that in your life, then so be it. Now, unfortunately, sometimes you got to think about somebody else than yourself. And that's the part of it that I will tell you that I think you may want to consider going to your doctor. And that's because you have a kid. That's one of the reasons why I would say, hey, listen, Cam, I'm your friend. Don't be a douchebag. Really. I mean, you have a child. You got to think about him or her. You're not around. Who the fuck's going to take care of her or him? Because you were stupid? Because you didn't go to the doctor to check that fucking pimple out that you had on your ass that he could have removed in the fucking office, and that thing turned out to be major cancer? That shit happens, dude. I ain't kidding. I go to the dermatologist now every year. Every friggin' year, he's burning something off my body. I got my ears burnt, my head burnt, my ass is burnt. I got things on my back. You can't see this shit. When's the last time you looked at your asshole? Ever? You can't. That's what he's for. This is the shit you got to do. You can't find that shit. You're not looking for it. That's what they do. Let that dermatologist check your ass out. I'm not trying to be funny here, folks. I'm telling you the truth. These are things that you have to do. If it's not for yourself, you got to do it for your loved ones. Because why should you, if you could have prevented that stupid fucking pimple from becoming cancerous, and believe me, I've had shit shot off my body, I'm telling you, almost every year now since I'm 50 years old. I'm like, immediately, what's it this year, doc? Oh, you got this thing on the back. I'm not sure. Take this shit off. Well, I'm going to send it to the lab, make sure it's not cancer. You know what? I don't care if you send it to fucking Cleveland. Just take this shit off me and just tell me I don't give a shit. I'm good. So that's the deal. So I love you, Cam. I do, and I listen to you, and you make me, you entertain me. But there are certain things in this life that we can do to prevent certain things. My father was the same way. Never went to the doctor, just like you. Never went to the doctor. Was 58. My father smoked cigarettes, 3.5 packs a day. Never had a problem until one day he couldn't breathe. Man couldn't breathe. What happened? Took him to the emergency room. Bring him home. Random checkup. Nope, we think we see something. We felt a little something in your throat, sir. We're not sure what it is, but maybe you want to get that checked. My father would say, fuck you, I'm not going to the doctor. Well, another day, couldn't breathe. Another day, checked his throat. There's something wrong with your throat, sir, And this went on for over a year of not him doing what he should have been doing. Finally, he almost dropped dead on an appointment my mother had. She was in the office, and my father couldn't breathe that well. So the doctor, of course, got off my mother and checked my father and said, you know what, you better go to the hospital. Something. I feel something here in your throat. Sure enough, anyway, the old man, my father, goes to the hospital, gets checked, and sure enough, he's got cancer. Or, he's got cancer somewhere in his throat. They don't know if it's, through his lymph nodes or if it's worse than that. Who knows? He's 58. Goes there and they tell him, listen, you're going to have surgery next week, on your throat, and we'll find out what kind of cancer you have and how far it's gone. We don't know where you are. So back then, 19, whatever it was, goes in, they take out his voice box. First they have to give him a trach for his neck, and then after that he has to have a full-blown surgery to have the cancer removed. It actually was a blessing because it was just in his throat. So they only took his voice box out, couple of lymph nodes, and he's totally cancer-free. That's what they say. And he's only 58 years old. So he's kind of lucky. But now here's my father, like myself, you can imagine me, without my voice. And my father was much more funny, much more animated. My father was Lenny. That's why I think me and Lenny get along so well. Very much like Lenny, very outgoing, very funny, nice person to everybody. That was my dad. But you take away, your voice box, it's kind of tough. Keep putting on the show all the time. My father, God bless him, he lived with that shit for 15 years, folks. And he struggled, but let me tell you, still went on airplanes, still went back to his job, driving a forklift truck in General Motors after all that shit after a year. Got out, 38 years on the job. Still was the same person inside, still showed on the outside, was very good with his grandkids, was very good still. I think we had a much better relationship. We always had a good relationship. I was lucky with my dad. But we got even closer, I think, because his, I don't know if it was because of his sickness, but I had to kind of, be with him more. And I had, all of a sudden, here I am. My father, how your father, I guess some of you know, your father drove all the time. Your father was was in charge. Now, all of a sudden, I'm kind of, I got to drive to Atlantic City, or I have to drive here, or he never let me drive. Even when I was in my 20s and 30s, my father was, get the fuck out of here. You're not driving the car. I'm the man. I'm driving, Even my mother would say, why don't you let your son drive, But my father, even with, the sickness, he wanted to drive. And so, that's pretty much, that's the way it was with him. So I've been on this freaking thing, I don't know how long, but I guess since nobody else is here and I'm kind of venting. But any old way, going back to the Arizona hustle here, and, the possibilities of everybody here, taking a chance in your life to go to a different state. I found Arizona to be, I think it's a place that I could live. I know it's going to be hot. It's going to be different. I'll miss my friends here. I have friends for many, many, many years. And of course, I'll miss the most. My two sisters live here, and then the kid lives here, and my brother-in-law. And that's probably the hardest part of things. In my back of my brain, I would hope my sisters would consider moving wherever we did. My nephew is a smart boy. He's going to be going to high school next year. So he's got like 4 years of high school ahead of him. And then college, So for him, my sister, my brother-in-law, I was looking out there for colleges for him already. Like in my head, I was going, oh, you can go out here. This is great, And, I was, that's a hope thing for me because I don't want to lose, I'm close with my sisters, So it's kind of it'll break my heart a little bit, It won't be easy. And my other sister's single, and, she's had it hard, for a lot of her life. She has two beautiful kids that are older now, married, and, one of her boys has two girls. But she never sees her kids. It's sad, that they don't really respect her the way we respected my mother. I seen my mom. My mother, I just lost my mom in November. But I see my mom twice a week my whole life, and then some. I've seen her. Maybe they call me a mama's boy. But you know what? I'd give anything to be, I would not give that up for a minute. People can say what they want. You can call me, the women in my life, I had some problems with my ex-girlfriends and, long-term girlfriends and shit. And some people would say, you're too much with your mother. And fuck you. Even, those were the women I just said, hey, listen, man, you can't understand the relationship I have with my mother, then take a walk. I don't need you. My mother has been there for me my whole life. When I needed my mom for anything, she was always there for me. So, somebody I met and going out with 2 months for, take a walk. I don't need you. I'm not asking you to replace my mother. Just respect her and respect the relationship we had. And a lot of people, I guess, I've had that experience in my life where a lot of the women that I've met in my life was, they didn't get along with their mothers. Seems more than not with women. For some reason, they're always butting heads. I couldn't understand it. And my sister's the same way. My older sister that I'm telling you about that's single with the two kids. And, she never got along with my mother. They fought It's so ironic. My mother and her fought. She left the house at 17 to get married for no reason, just to get out of the house. Stupid shit, you know? And then, but at the end of the day, as life would have it, my mother gets sick, and, you know, I was taking care of her for the last few years, you know, before she got real sick. And as, you know, again, as life has it, my younger sister, who was very, very much closer to my mother than me and my other sister are, well, neither one of us ended up being the caretaker for my mother. It ended up being my sister that never got along with her. My sister took care of her, bathed her, lived with her for the last 2.5 years of her life, and took care of my mom. You know, and the last thing you would ever think in my family, my father, or anybody who's looking down upon us would have said, can't believe it, but she's the one that ended up with my mother. So, you know, who knew? You know, it was a blessing for me, because I tried my best to do what I could for my mom. But when it comes to like cleaning her and shit like that, you know, that's not something that she wanted me to do. You know, I would bring somebody in, you know, once in a while, you know, and tell her, listen, I got a friend of mine that, you know, that's what she does. You know, if you need help, you know, and I'll be there when, you know, she comes in the house to help. But it just happened that my sister was in a perfect spot, you know, to be there. She quit her job. My sister quit her job my sister quit her job. Like, she's quitting her job to stay with mom. Is she freaking crazy? You know, but my mother said, listen, you know, you don't have to worry about the money. You know, you could live with me and just take care of me. And it worked out. You know, but now my sister's single, now living in my mother's apartment without a job. So I worry about her, of course. And if I was to go wherever, Arizona, of course, when I went there this week, my eyeballs were looking at me and my wife and my dog and have everything for us. But we also, in my mind, and my wife too, we were trying to look at places in case, we don't want to live together. But I'd like my sister to come and live, you know, with us wherever we go, whether it's Arizona, South Carolina, wherever the hell we end up, if we ever end up anywhere. So, you know, that was the thing too. And I don't, it's a tough situation. You can't just get up and move. Even her, she doesn't drive and shit. So, you know, if you have a car in Arizona, I gotta tell you, everything is close. I can tell you that. One thing about Arizona that I learned, everything is close. You look at Arizona and you look on the map, you're like, oh shit, you know, how am I going to get to my doctors? How am I going to get to the hospital? You know, how am I going to get to this food store? Yeah, it's 110 degrees. What the fuck? You know, it's not, I drove. So I said, let's go, you know, for my job, for my wife. I said, you know, let's look for places for you to work, because she's a dental hygienist. And, you know, dentists is everywhere, doctors everywhere. And as far as stores, I mean, everywhere. Walmart, CVS, Best Buy, you name it. Super Walmart. You can't. Everything looks the same though. Every town you go to, nothing's different. That looks the same. I'm driving around. Looks like I'm in a mirror, like mirrors. I said, this town looks like that town. This town is, when it comes to the stores, everything looks the same. And housing, same thing. A lot of these housing developments, besides the ones we went to, because we definitely wanted to check out the different, it looks the same. You're driving down the street going, that house looks the same. All cookie cutters, they're all the same. Everything, this town, very same colors, you know. It just like, it blinded me. Like, it's just the same shit. Until you get to these luxury rental places, that's when you go in, you're like, whoa, shit. Now we're talking. This is beautiful. You know, this is a different kind of feel and vibe. You know, I'm older, but it's a young vibe. You feel it. You walk into these places, you know, they got nice music. Anything, the ambiance of it per se is just there. It's like, even though I'm older, but I felt like a kid. I walked in there, I was like, oh, look at, I walked into this place. It had a, beautiful gym, everything state of the art. I could give two shits about a gym, like I'm going to really use it, really, But it had a basketball court. Inside, I was pumped. I grabbed the basketball, I'm taking shots, I'm like, I could see myself doing this shit every day. Even if it's just 15 minutes a day. Me throwing up some hoops. And then right next door, there was a racquetball court. I was like, the girl came out. I said, what's with this racquetball court? Oh, the rackets are there for you. Use the racket, the ball, brand new cans of ball. You want to play? You meet somebody? I said, no, I'll go in there and knock some balls around right now if you don't mind. I haven't done it in shit, 15 years, but I don't forget. You know, my eyesight ain't